Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Blacklist. So in this episode, we deal with a blacklister known as the Debt Collector. Basically, he's a guy that he gets hired to basically get revenge on people, and basically he reenacts the revenge. Like, for example, there's a girl that died at the beginning of basically goes back to 2002. Basically, there was a girl that died, and there was this dude named Tyler who basically gave her the drugs that she overdosed on. She overdosed, but passed out on the beach, and she ended up, the waves ended up coming and ended up killing her. She basically drowned. Basically, the debt collector found the boy, and basically made him die in a similar fashion. He locked him in a drum and sealed it up and left it out in the water, and he basically kind of suffocated. It was kind of a similar way to how the girl had died. So that's kind of his MO and how he operates. Well, it seems like he's now picked a new target, and that's Liz, which Reddington kind of puts this out there, but Reddington can't do anything because he's not in the U.S. He's still trying to get his way back, because he ended up meeting up with, I forgot his name, but it's the actor, but I forgot his character's name, but it's the actor who plays Niles from The Nanny way back in the day. Like, he's kind of returned once again. It's like, oh yeah, we had that whole situation of like, it's not like I wanted to kill you. I was, preparing myself to kill you, but it's like wanting to kill you, but that's silly. But this situation with the debt collector brought up an interesting point, and that was that Kate and Reddington put their issues aside and like, hey, we got to come together, because it's like they ended up examining one of his bodies, one of the victims. They ended up pulling the boy Tyler's body. They ended up tracking it down. And it's like normal MEs and stuff like that, it take 2 weeks to find out anything. But the fact of the matter is, Kate's very good at her job. She understands, like, disposing of bodies and stuff like that. So obviously makes a deal with the FBI, which obviously, Kate is super intelligent. The FBI kind of sold her, the task force kind of undersold her. It's like, she's been by Reddington's side this entire time for the past 20 years. I mean, Kate is a very crafty lady. I mean, she's proven that on multiple occasions. Like, obviously, not only just working with Reddington, but this whole plan that she's enacted right now. And also the fact is, we know that, from looking at her past, we know that she was crafty even back then, to the point, like, she ended up kind of doing a whole decoy situation that ended up getting, because the FBI wasn't going to keep up their end of the deal, was going to try and track her down. But she still ended up getting the body, ended up bringing up this substance that basically kind of gets rid of body odors, and they basically figured out, like, oh, the dude behind all of this is a janitor and whatnot, and that basically he's working for a guy named Tyson Prayers. He's a guy that Liz, because I was like, oh, is this a blacklister we've met, or someone we've met before? It's like, no, this is someone that Liz busted a little bit before even the show started, because it took place in like 2012. The show started back in 2013. If I'm remembering that correctly, I'm pretty sure that's the case. I think I'm remembering all right. I could be wrong, but nevertheless, it was definitely before. It was back when she was just a profiler. They went on their way to point that out. I was like, okay, I thought this was like so, because like I don't remember the name, because I feel like if it was someone that we knew in the show, they would have done some like black and white, like flashback, like boom boom. That's what this is about. But it's like I didn't recognize the face or whatever, so I was like, no, it's a new person. It's someone from back in the day. But the moment that came up, I was like, I was like, so that's what this is all about. I was like, because, Kate brought up the fact is that she was like, the reason why this is all happening, Reddington, is because of her being so close to you. Obviously, this is someone grabbing Liz to kind of get retribution against you. And so, because the conversation started being like, oh, did Kate do it? It's like, no, there's no way Kate would do this. And so, I mean, there was an interesting conversation, to me, like a very interesting conversation that went down between Denbei and Reddington. Because obviously, like, Reddington's trying to decide what he's going to do about this whole situation. He's like, there are very few people he's ever loved in his life. Those few people are, Kate, most likely Denbei, as well as Liz. There are probably like 3 of the few people he's ever loved. And so for him, it's like, obviously he dreaded in his heart, knowing that when it was all said and done, he knew that what he would have to do for what Kate did. But it's like, he does it. He wants to look Kate in the eye and see if the woman he knew and cared about and loved was still there or not. Because at the end of the day, he understands, no matter what it was, that everything Kate did, she did out of love for the little girl that she took care of all those years ago. But for Denbei, he's like, yeah, I understand how you're feeling, because it's like, when it came to that Kate situation, you pulling the trigger, us leaving her there like that, broke my heart. But the fact of the matter is, Kate has gone above and beyond. Like, she has gone so far above and beyond to prove that you've gone too far, you know? And it's like, and I guess because in Kate's mind, she feels like she has to go that far to prove it. I obviously, like, the fact of the matter, she even brings it up when it comes to wrestlers. She's like, there's casualties. You know, that was him, like, kind of being in the situation he was, like, her manipulating him and kind of using him to kind of get him out of the case, kind of trying to break the task force down piece by piece, trying to destroy Reddington's last line of defense, essentially. You know, it's like, it's a casualties, you know, a necessary casualty in this whole situation, like, of trying to dismantle Reddington's defenses. And so Denbei is basically like, you will have to end this, Reddington, like, one way or another, but Red, he says, like, I don't know how to end it. He doesn't know the right way to end it. And Denbei's like, the fact of the matter is, like, you can't stop, especially after everything that's going on, how far you've come, like, everything that you've ever had to do to get here. You got to remember why you did all this. And obviously he's saying, like, everything he's ever done has been for two purposes: to keep himself out of custody and protect Liz. And protecting Liz obviously takes priority. Obviously keeping himself out of trouble, obviously keeping himself not locked up, leaves him in a position to take care of Liz. So they both kind of complement each other. They work hand in hand. And so it's because of that very reason that their work isn't done that they have to do that. And to me, it was very interesting hearing Denbei speak so frankly on the subject, because you could always tell that from the very beginning, like, Denbei was very conflicted on the whole situation, because, like, he didn't want things to kind of end up the way it did with Kate. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's also about protecting Liz. And she went up and, like he said, at the end of the day, wrong or right, what happened basically happened between him and Kate. So, you know, what's done is done, and they have to kind of live with that choice. That was kind of his mentality at the time. So, but to me, obviously, the big twist in the episode, I'm going to talk about, I was kind of about to talk about it before I change subjects, is at the very beginning, obviously things didn't kind of line up to me. It's like, would this guy really be doing all this? I mean, we ended up finding out that Tyson dude is sick and everything, and it's like someone else hired him. It's like, oh, who is this? Is it someone from Red's past? It's like, this could be Kurt, could it? And then I was like, oh, what if it's the lady that worked with Kurt that supposedly is dead? Like, what if she actually faked her death? But then again, it's like, no, because at the time I was like, she jumped into water, but I was like, at the time I was like, I even said, I was like, I don't think she's dead. But then it was like, oh, everyone stayed around the crime scene. They never said anything, like, oh, we never found her body. So I was like, no, she probably killed herself, so she wouldn't have to worry about being captured and talking. So at first I was like, is it her? And it's like, who could it be? And all of a sudden, bam, Reddington walks out. Did not see it coming that he would be up behind this. The whole thing was a trap. Playing victim, trying to tug on Kate's heart and her affection for Liz. All of this was a ploy to get her to draw Kate in. Which even, you know, Reddington is frank with her. It's like, the fact of the matter is, I don't want to kill Kate. I mean, what happens comes down to her, whether one of us walks away from this dead or alive. I mean, whether one of us walks away from this dead or we walk away from this both alive. This comes down to Kate, because it's like, we can't find another way. But the fact of the matter is, with the war, both sides have to come to a consensus. And it's like, basically, it's like, it's not going to be up to Kate. Like, basically, it's going to come down to her, but also once again, like he said earlier to Denbei, he has to look her in the eyes and see if the woman that he once knew is still there. And even Kate admitted her to herself when she showed up. Luckily, Liz stopped her from coming in and falling completely into the trap. But it was like, she even admitted herself, she's like, I loved you, Reddington. I was by your side. I was one of the people you trusted the most, and I trusted you. Which is so interesting when you look at the situation of how they first met. It's like, obviously, they did not like, I mean, in her case, she really didn't like Reddington. She didn't trust him because she blamed him for everything that was happening. But it's like, to go to that level and be where they are now, where she actually does care about him, that she doesn't want to do this, but she has to, because it's like, she's like, no one's willing to really wake up. Obviously, Liz is trying to be the mediator in this situation. It's like, Kate, can you honestly say you'll let bygones be bygones, and just, like, let there be, you know, we'll put this all behind us and work together, which Kate's like, I can't do that, you know, which for her, because for her, she feels like this is the only way. Like, it has to be either Reddington dies or not. I don't know. Because at points, it makes me wonder, like, Because to me, at the very beginning, it seemed like Kate just wanted him arrested. Like, because she does care about him, so I think she does want to go down that route. But if she can't, she will kill him. Because it's like, at one point you're saying you're kind of going about killing him. It seems like kind of be the only option. But at other times, it seemed like you wanted him arrested and kind of pay for his crime. So it's like, which is it? And I think even Kate, much like Reddington, is undecided because they do care about each other. And even when they look at each other, no matter how they feel about each other in this moment, they still see that person that they love and care about and have been colleagues and big parts of each other's life for the past 20 years. So that's not, that past they have together isn't that easily erased. But for Kate, it's like, look at all these bodies I've seen you. I've sent you all these bodies, and you know what? You still stay by Reddington's side even through it all. Like, I've shown you the 86 bodies of people who've crossed him and everything, and that's still not enough to make the task force back down, because for them it's like the good that comes with working with Reddington of taking out some very bad people outweighs all the stuff he's done. I mean, to a certain extent, like, there's only a limit to how much you can excuse, I assume. So it seems like Kate, like, because Kate even points it out, she sees where Liz's mind is, because the fact is Liz actually tried to warn her before she could come, fall into the trap and everything. So it's like, she's still trapped in the middle, so she wants things to kind of end peacefully, but even Reddington's like, you heard Kate say to herself, like, things can't end that way, so what's going to happen on that case, I don't know. But what we get on the other side of the episode, and it ties in heavily, is the whole Julian situation. Rustler's in his whole situation. He's been suspended, obviously, but this is giving him the opportunity to work closer with Julian, who Julian is obviously... He's like, oh, these people are talking to me and everything. The fact of the matter, all these dead people are talking to me about getting Reddington and everything. So it's like all these people died because, Reddington wants to act like he's untouchable and everything. But the fact of the matter is, and to prove that, he ends up, taking out any people that might even think about touching him. But the fact of the matter is, he brings up the fact is that Kate has kind of exposed the fact is that he is touchable, that he can be taken down. So for him, it's like, now that Kate's kind of opened up the opportunity for him. Whether that's 100% her plan, I don't know. I doubt it was. Like, I mean, I'm sure it falls under the purview of her plan of being like, oh yeah, the fact of the matter is I want people coming after Reddington to kind of dismantle this task force so that he can no longer be protected. So it kind of works hand in hand with what she wants. At one point during the episode, they do visit Marvin, Reddington's lawyer, and he's like, I know you. You're a wrestler. And it's like, oh, you know each other? It's like, oh, who wouldn't know him? He's the head investigator that was after Liz and Reddington when they were on the run and everything. It's like, oh, like Marvin really jumped on it quick. He was like, yeah, I saw it in your eyes that you didn't really want this guy to really know the truth between us. So he came up with that lie on the spot and everything. He's like, I'll only talk to the wrestler. I won't talk to you. But there was a moment where Julian touched his shoulder and when he was walking out. Didn't turn into anything, but I get the feeling like that might have been him placing a bug on him, but maybe it wasn't the case because nothing came up. You never heard him like listening in on some recording. I mean, maybe next episode we'll find out to be the case, but to me it was just suspicious that he ended up grabbing on him like that. I felt like you placed some kind of bug on him or something. So, but it does Marvin did kind of show his colors. He's like, so I'll keep my mouth shut about the whole like how me and you really know each other. He's like, this will also mean helping out Reddington and stuff like that. He's like, the person I want to look out for more than even Reddington is myself. So kind of showing his true colors. Not unless this is Marvin playing some kind of angle, but we'll see. But Julian isn't willing to back down. Obviously, all this stuff, obviously knowing that Kate's a woman and just knowing all these things that he feels like, even though we were part of the task force, you didn't really, like, there's no way you would really know this. So how do you know what you know? It's like, even because Wrestler had told him like the truth about like, yeah, I was kind of where I've been this past couple of days. I was, in holding and I was arrested because I got brainwashed and almost tried to, kill somebody, which obviously Julian kind of thought was a joke. And then like Wrestler was like, yo, this ain't no game. Like that's what really happened. Like, even if you don't believe me, but Julian's just kind of like, oh, there you go and being crazy. It's like, dude, you can obviously check it out. But I guess since it's still an ongoing investigation and everything, I mean, it turns out it's like, yeah, he shot a Secret Service member and everything, so it's like, it's very complicated, and I doubt, even if Julian looked into it, it's probably hush-hush, so he probably wouldn't be able to find out any information anyway. But what we did have Julian do is he ended up following wrestler and ended up coming across the whole like Kate and Reddington situation. And he's about to point his gun at Reddington. He's about to pull the trigger, but Reddington turns at the right time and boom. And so now Reddington realizes there's another player on the field, but Wrestler doesn't realize that Julian's the one that was there, that he knows that Wrestler's lying, that he now knows probably a lot. He's probably pieced it together. Like from the very beginning, Wrestler was like, don't underestimate Julian. The fact is that he's very clever, and it's like, so he's been suspicious of Wrestler, so he ended up following him. So the moment Samara was like, yeah, we need you there, I was like, and Julian's going to follow you. And he did. So I thought he was just going to observe, but he wanted to take this as an opportunity to try and take Reddington out. But the fact of the matter is he might have sparked something without even realizing it. He sparked something. But at the same time, for him, it's like, oh, maybe I'll do some good. Maybe at this point in time, Kate and Reddington will end up killing each other. Or at the very least, it'll put me in a position where even if Reddington comes out on top, I can finally bust him. Because that's what this is all about. Because for him, it's all about getting justice for all these victims and everything. But it's like, is it really them, or could this be a pride situation? It's like, you want to give him, like, obviously he's a very good cop, but it's like, it's one of those situations where it's like you're on the side of the bad guy. You know Reddington's the bad guy, but it's like you want to be on his side. You want him to kind of get away unscathed, which I think even Reddington himself has always believed, like, eventually it's, like he's talked about before, like he brought up earlier this season, like there's just something kind of out there. Like before, he never really cared too much about his death, but now it's like, it just, like this lingering feeling of death kind of keeps following him, and now it's kind of come to a head considering everything that's kind of played out, his operations falling apart, having to kill once a trusted ally because of a lie and manipulation, that he enacted so many years ago in his younger age and everything to get someone on his side that kind of helped him build the operation that he needed. So just a very, very good episode. Next week is the season finale. It's a 2-hour event, and I have no idea what's going to go down. It's going to be a crazy episode, I can be sure, especially with this whole Julian situation, knowing what he knows now. And the question is, what will he do? That's, and also the big question is, what's going to happen between Kate and Reddington? Will it be a situation? Because to me, I was thinking like something was going to happen during the whole operation, and it's like, one of Reddington's people, because he told them to hold their fire. I was like, somebody was going to shoot Kate or something like that, or Julian's going to end up shooting her or something and just kind of set Reddington off, which turned out not to be the case. Who's to say that won't be the case next episode? So the fact is, Reddington was like, oh yeah, to come here to speak some truth, which is like, I guess it was more so to get Kate's answer, to see how she really felt about the whole situation was the truth. I thought he was like going to reveal whatever it is that he might still be hiding. So like I said, 2-hour season finale. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.